Hey.
What's up? We switched places.
We did.
Did you notice?
We're trying something
We're
new.
trying something different. We're trying to freak everyone out.
I felt like I was hiding behind our Tim and Katie name too much.
You know what the funny thing is that it's flipped on this. Like we were watching ourselves live. So I was like, it's double confusing because now it's confusing for you and it's confusing for us. Welcome everyone. Welcome.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. We're 2 in a row now. So this is gonna be chaotic, but we're so happy to be
When
here.
is it not chaotic?
It's always chaotic. We are like the masters of chaos.
Usually fun.
I love you both
Thank
for checking
you.
our
At
audio
least
for
the
us.
audio
Yes, thank you.
is not chaotic.
We have had, and I do hear music this time, I think, so I didn't botch that. For those of you who did not join us last week, you will never get a chance to see what happened last week. We had a lot of technical difficulties both during and after the presentation, so we just wound up just not posting it. Yeah, so anyone who made it to the last presentation, live stream, we were happy to have you, but that has been lost to time.
Lost to time, like
Dewey, what's up, man?
Episodes.
Welcome in. And the music is good. Yes.
Glad y'all like the music.
If not good, the music is at least there.
He thinks it's boring if there's a little bit of silence.
I just feel like us talking in a vacuum sometimes is just very intimidating.
To me, it's like I hear the music and I'm like, is my phone going off? What's happening?
No, I feel like the music fills a void for us. We're not always the best communicators, so sometimes when we stumble over ourselves, the music is there to save us. Anyway,
I suppose that is true.
So we've made a level, concentrated effort to be a little bit more organized tonight. I don't know whether or not that effort is going to wind up meaning anything because we had a very chaotic day and even a very chaotic half hour before.
I don't think we even sat down for 4 minutes ago.
Nah, we were very late to the gate getting things started. Also, we've been having lighting issues today, so if this thing flickers off in the middle, that could happen also. This is going to be just raw, energized chaos. But we'll take it as far as it will go. Thank you, everyone who joined in tonight. We do have some stuff to talk about, and we have a couple stories to share because we've had a very full couple of weeks. What we did the last time, and again, this live stream has been lost to the records of history. We'll never probably see that again because of the technical difficulties we experienced. But what we talked about was our trip to Florida and the time that we spent at Central Florida theme parks, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, Tampa, all the Disney parks, all the Universal parks, and we had an absolute blast. The one thing we didn't cover on that live stream was the event that kind of coincided with our trip, which was Megacon. And we went to Megacon for the very first time. We had a wonderful time. We did learn some stuff. There were things we could have done better, and there were definitely some pain points we wanted to talk about. But we decided to kind of bottle all of that and talk about that in tonight's live stream because last weekend we went to a different convention, a much smaller convention, a much tighter convention, and we thought it would be very niche. It was an interesting concept to kind of compare the two. Real quick, Tim dropped a comment on Wild
Was
Sketch
that on
Revenge.
the I guess, are we calling it a top hat? I don't know. The final, the arch being put in.
Yeah, I think the last piece of track or
if it's more important than that, let us know, Tim.
Wildcat is coming along nicely.
Because we're waiting for opening dates for that and Dark Coaster. Dark Coaster, they're just like, May. It's going to be in May. And it's like, come on, man.
I mean,
we need a date.
I'll be honest and say that Busch Gardens at least has said May.
Yeah.
Hershey Park at this point has said summer. Summer goes for like 3 months.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variance inside. I'm pretty sure, I mean, Tim made an excellent point the last live stream we had that Wildcat's original anniversary was going to circle around a certain date this summer, like a 10-year.
I think it was a June date.
Or original birthday.
Yes, it was. Yes, that is the exact word that I could not remember.
Trust.
Yeah.
Trust
Came in with the cream.
Yeah.
Looks so good.
Sorry, I'm not used to being in this corner. I'm bumping the table a little bit. Yeah, we're super excited for your one to talk.
I know.
We're super excited for Wildcat's Revenge at Hershey Park. We're also super excited for the Dark Coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. We don't know which one is going to open first because now it looks like they could both end up opening sometime between May and June.
I think the Dark Coaster, because that one actually is a smaller ride.
It is a smaller ride.
But I'm pretty sure
But that one had to be built from scratch. And technically Wildcats at least had foundation support. Anyway, it's a race. There's only select days in the summer that we don't have accounted for already, and we're trying to hold certain periods because we feel like there's going to be a good chance certain coasters open on certain days. We'll see what happens. We may not make the opening, but we will be riding both coasters this summer.
Very excited about that. Hi, friend.
Oh, hi, friend.
Feel free to comment.
Feel free to comment. Join the dialogue. We're talking about madness tonight. Okay. As usual, for those of you who are used to these live streams, I have to plug us because, you know, it's Tim and Katie talking about Tim and Katie. The real Tim and Katie is our Instagram account. That's where we do most of our posting when we're out and about. So if you want to know where we are, have a chance to like kind of sync up with us or kind of get a sense of what's coming down the pipeline vlog-wise, we always post there first. Do please check that out. Facebook, very similar because a lot of what goes on Instagram ports to Facebook, but I've been trying to mix it up on Facebook, give you guys some photos and some extra bonus content over there, just because, you know, some people are Facebook people, and I respect that. And then timandkatie.net is our Tragically Behind website. We are going to be using it for new and exciting things, but it is behind right now. So we will be catching it up soon. It was my intent to do that like 2 weeks ago, and I got totally buried and it didn't happen. So, but it is working. It is in the works. It is not working. It is in the works. So having said all of that, there's our plug for the evening. We're going to talk about something that we have a lot of experience with.
David,
I'll uncover him.
Covered.
Hold on.
There we go.
There you go.
That was a fun photo.
So yeah, this is, for those of you who are not sci-fi nerds, this is Catherine Tate on the left, David Tennant on the right, us in the middle, keeping them from killing each other. This was a funny photo op post that we came up with on the spur of the moment at AwesomeCon in, I think this was 2019 or maybe 2018.
It was before we got married.
It was before we got married. It was significantly before we got married because after that there was much sadness and COVID. Yeah. But we've been doing cons for a while.
Also my hair, Lord.
Yeah, it was longer. It was longer. We've been doing cons for a hot minute, and we took a long break because of COVID. Number one, lots of cons were canceled because of COVID and, you know, congregate being discouraged. But also, when cons started coming back online, there were COVID precautions that kind of like, I understand why they needed to have those precautions, but it did diminish the experience. Yeah. Like, to pay the exact same price that you would have to get a hug with celebrities that you really liked, to then be like kind of staring at them through a plastic sheet with masks on both sides, it did diminish the experience. So we decided, like, let's hold back and, you know, we'll start going again when things start normalizing. I think 2023 is kind of the year of normal. Like, cons as a whole have kind of gone back to the way they were. There's a lot of things that have in the modern world. Going back to the office is not one of my favorite things, but if there's any consolation prize, it is that cons are back to their former glory. So in the past 3 weeks, we've been to 2 cons. One, a really big con, one of the biggest in the country, that was Megacon, which was hosted by FanExpo. That happens in Orlando in a convention center. It's a big to-do, and it was like backing up traffic for 4 days straight. I'm sure Orlando residents don't love it, but we do as out-of-towners who travel to experience it. The other con that we went to, much smaller, compact, inside a hotel, that was MonsterMania. And I will also plug that we do have a vlog coming on Thursday from MonsterMania. Turned out to be a much more exciting experience than we were expecting it to be for its scale. But what we really wanted to talk about tonight was kind of the differences between the two. So we're going to go over conventions and kind of weigh the pros and cons of a large convention versus small convention. I understand too, this might not be everyone's cup of tea. So don't feel like, you have to, if you're looking for theme park content, there's plenty of that coming up. But if you're like not as much into the convention circuit, you don't have to stick around for this one. I would, however, encourage you to like listen in and give it a shot, because there's a lot of overlap between what we love about theme parks and what we love about conventions, specifically like Comic-Cons, not like, we're not going to
like vacuum sale conventions.
This isn't a concrete convention. This is like, we're going to meet celebrities and experience like Back to the Future photo ops and all that kind of stuff.
Pop culture, comics, things.
It's ultimately both things are kind of about being nerds and unleashing your inner geek. And so this is just kind of like what we've thrown our money into over the last month or so. And it's been really, really fun.
God.
So I missed that Chad and Vanessa came in. Hi, guys. Well, actually, just Vanessa. Chad is busy editing the Knots video.
Okay, sorry, I cheated and looked at the comments. So Vanessa put in, it's his birthday today, but it was after, hey, Chad's editing our Knots video, and I think people thought she meant Chad's birthday, but she meant, scroll down, it's actually David Tennant's birthday.
Oh.
Which I did think about too, but I also in my head I was like, is it?
Is it actually David Tennant's birthday?
It is.
Happy birthday, David Tennant.
Yeah.
I don't have him as a Facebook friend, so I can't keep track of when he was born. But happy birthday to David Tennant. He's really changed our lives.
I know, because one of my good friends' birthday's tomorrow, so I always remember. She was the one who got me into Doctor Who, so I always remember David Tennant's birthday.
We also missed a comment from the friend. Is it pronounced Ree?
Or Rye?
Or Rye? Or Fry? I don't want to offend anyone, so yeah. I'll just say friend until someone spells that pronunciation for me. But welcome.
It's okay, Vanessa. You can celebrate celebs' birthdays. It's totally fine. Ree. I'm hearing Ree.
Okay.
Cool. Welcome, Ree.
Welcome, Ree. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you for introducing yourself.
All right. So the way we decided to do this. When you're talking about conventions, there's a couple things that are consistent across all of them. And those we kind of grouped into categories. So like we'll look at the categories of each type of convention, and then we'll kind of dive into like the pros and cons of being large or small. So we're looking at Megacon Orlando and MonsterMania as kind of our our test samples.
Yeah.
And this applies to many different types of conventions and cons, but like these are the two that we went to most recently. So those are the kind of things we're going to be looking at.
And for the record, we have never been to San Diego Comic-Con. I know that's kind of a beast in itself.
And New York Comic-Con.
So if you have been and you have experiences to share, please let us know. We cannot attest to that experience.
At the end, we might talk about what has been on our heads all day and part of why we were like so chaotic getting in, because we're not done with cons even this year. We're not even remotely done with cons this year. Like this is going to be the year of con.
Yeah, I feel like
con
almost 3 years off from conventions. I feel like,
and then we're just like we're blowing our life savings on conventions this year. All right. Okay. All right. So let's look at venue. So we'll go large first. Megacon is one of the largest conventions in North America. It's a gathering of many different like-minded people who all enjoy different fandoms, all under one roof. So the roof has to be big. This was hosted at the Orange County Convention Center, Greater Orange County Convention Center, whatever it is.
Which is like right across the street from where like Epic Universe.
So we got to see some of the construction, which is pretty cool, but that's not part of the Megacon block release, obviously. No. It is right off of I-4. Everyone can get to it really easily. things started backing up for us before we even got
Oh
off
my
I-4.
God.
I-4 is usually backed up, don't get me wrong. Like, traffic is bad on I-4 in Orlando all the time because of all the theme parks, but like the congestion started on the exit ramp for Megacon, and it was like still like probably a quarter of a mile, half of a mile to the convention center complex that was just like crawling.
Yeah.
So large conventions gather more people, and that results in needing more space and having things like off-site parking. Off-site parking at Megacon did cost money. We did not park because we were there without a car, so we just took a lift. The lift took probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes longer than it normally would to get to where we were going because of the traffic. And same for pickup, like 15 to 20 minutes to grab us before we even got a chance to escape. It took almost an hour to get between like the 15, 20 minutes that stood between us and the convention center from our Disney resort.
Was the parking at Icon Park part of the convention, or was that just people using the system to park at Icon Park?
There were 6 lots and 5 of them had sold out. So I don't know where the 6th one was. I think Icon Park probably has their own, but it was clogged. So this is all just to say, like, this is what the floor looked like at Megacon. This isn't actually from this year, but this is very, very similar to what this is from Megacon, just not this year's Megacon. This is very, very similar to what it looked like on Saturday. On Sunday, it was a little less congested than this, but like this is the standard amount of people for a weekend event at a convention
And
center.
this I wouldn't say, like, this is not the whole thing. Like,
No,
it's obviously
this is
a lot of space, but it's like,
there are floors. When you book at a convention center, you have like upstairs areas and panel rooms, and you have like, often they'll have like a video game complex where people can just wander away and play video games. Some well thought out cons will even have like a, what is it called? Like a sensitive, where you can step away from the crowd. Yeah, sensory deprivation type rooms where you just
I
like.
don't know if it's sensory deprivation. That's a different thing. It's
where you
like,
just like, I just spit all over the camera. Splash them. Anyway, sorry.
Basically, if you need to take a break from the noise, the lights, the crowds, there should be like a quiet room. Or there can be like a quiet room you can go to where you're not supposed to make noise.
And they'll have like, you know, just on the same topic, they'll have like emergency services. Like to have a certain number of people in this large a space, like they need to have their own, they basically need like the same operational capacity as a theme park. They need to have medical staff on hand. They need to have like the fire marshal present. They need to have security. Yeah, we didn't even put that in our notes, but like security is a big difference.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that is a big difference.
So security at Megacon was like a whole metal detector setup. They had bag search. They had props check where they had to like go through anyone who's carrying like a plastic weapon. It had to be inspected. They had to add like a yellow tip to or an orange tip to it.
Yeah. Or like some sort of like wristband that said this weapon's been. Or
right.
They're not weapons. They're props. They're made of foam. They're made of plastic. Whatever. But they all get.
But they're part of cosplay, so they're like.
Because you're not supposed to have like. You're not supposed to carry, even if you have an actual metal sword. You don't bring that sword with you to the con.
Right.
It could hurt someone.
Right.
Anyway.
So, this is what Megacon entails. Like going to Megacon is not for the faint of heart when it comes to crowds. On Saturday, which I'll grant you, like this Megacon was like, this year, as we said, is kind of a return to form for cons as a whole. So people are kind of getting back into the zone the same way we are. They're being drawn back out of their private lives and into like fan communities again. So like this Megacon was very, very busy. Last year's We Heard From Friends was very, very busy as well. Saturday, we were definitely like rubbing shoulders with people most of the day. And the funny thing is, like, even as an introvert who doesn't love situations like that, like, I feel like we're kind of in our own bubble in terms of like what we're enjoying. And I don't really notice other people unless they get in the way of my experience. Yeah. But that was not the case for the majority of Megacon. So I'm happy to say, like, if you're a fan of a fandom in general, there is something for you here, and you will be automatically kind of drawn to it. Yeah. So this is busy. And I don't want to understate the busyness of lines do back up for celebrities and all that. We'll get to that too. But like the venue itself is kind of designed to accommodate traffic flow like this. So it doesn't feel like you're dying all day.
Yeah.
When it comes to smaller conventions, like MonsterMania. Oftentimes, these types of events, because they require less space, because they have less to offer, not to say they don't have anything to offer, they're not worth visiting, but they're just the capacity is less, so they have less to offer and they draw fewer people. They usually have these cons in places like hotels as opposed to convention centers. They're not designed to hold quite the same amount of people, but they could accommodate, say, a small wedding. So small conventions, like the one we went to at MonsterMania, occupy less space, draw fewer bodies, and because of this, they don't need to send people off-site to park. When you have on-site parking, typically that is free. So when we went to the MonsterMania convention, that was actually very, very close to where we live. So we didn't have to, drive very far. We actually were able to take a break midday, which was great. But also, yes, it was a little more congested than usual at the hotel. It wasn't hard to find a parking spot. We were able to do it pretty quickly and then just walk to the door.
Yeah.
Mitchie!
Oh, we'll miss you, man. Have fun tonight.
Have fun, dude.
Our con buddy.
Mitch was our con buddy at Megacon. If y'all haven't seen the Megacon vlog we put out it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that one yet, I was actually quite fond of that one. I'm not fond of every single vlog we put out. That's a thing to know about me, but I was fond of that one.
Sometimes you just hate stuff.
It's just nice. Sometimes you just put stuff out to put stuff out, but so this is what a hotel con will look like. To be fair, this is what we would refer to as the show floor in a con, like a hotel con. Celebrities, if they're invited to events like this, will often be in a completely different room. Like this will be a ballroom dedicated to small business merch, and
other artists, yeah,
aggregates. What's it called? Swap meets, things like that. Will all collect in rooms like these that will basically occupy a hotel ballroom. So this is basically exactly what we were looking at for the show floor at MonsterMania. I don't think this is from MonsterMania. I think this is an anime convention, but I just kind of plucked an image from Google.
We did not prepare with our own skills.
Well, we don't always have them, but this is exactly what the vibe was like. And as you can see, it's significantly less congested than anything you saw in the previous, like if I go back to.
Yeah.
Big, small. So now, even though, go ahead.
I will say, and I'm sorry to interrupt. This may not be the case for every small convention, but for both MonsterManias we've been to, they will set up some vendors in their hallways too. That can get crowded, but not to the level that we're talking about at like a big con. But sometimes just your walkways can still get crowded because you may have vendors on either side and also a line forming to get into a panel or something.
Yeah.
In these more open areas, there is a lot more space, I would say.
The other thing about booking a con at a hotel, as just a general statement, if you were planning to stay at the hotel for completely other reasons, you're still walking through those hallways. Yeah. So convention attendees will go out of their way. I mean, we weren't staying at the hotel that we attended a con at, but we visited the hotel for the con. So we're among a mass group of people that have come in specifically for this one day, for this one event, that are now clogging the hallway that other people are trying to walk through functionally. So it does get a little bit tight and congested sometimes because it's not just convention attendees that are in those spaces. It's also people who are staying at the hotel, people who work at the Starbucks down the street or in the hotel, so on and so forth. And as Katie said, vendors in the hallways that are just kind of overflow that didn't fit on the showroom floor, but they wanted to give it a shot to sell their merch, they will be in a much tighter space and they will be right across from each other. So you could throw a ball between one vendor and the other, and they could play catch all day if they wanted to, except that they'd be hitting people in the face.
I think on the scale, I didn't want to say there won't be crowded or congested spaces in a small con. I think I would agree with that statement. If I wasn't at the convention, I wouldn't.
But you don't always know. When we were at Coronado Springs in Disney World for MegaCon, there was a whole other convention going on at Coronado Springs.
Right.
And that didn't impact our stay much because it's a much bigger resort.
That's not even the kind of Now I'm shaking the table. That's not even the kind of convention that I was referring to, because places like Coronado that are kind of built for convention centers, I feel like, yes, you can be going to dinner and stuff with the convention attendees, but usually they're off. Like the hotel we were at this weekend, like there was no way to get to the lobby without seeing, MonsterMania people.
Yeah.
And they were pretty obvious because we were all in our horror movie shirts and cosplays and fake blood and everything.
In general, anyone who's dressed head to toe in all black with fake fangs is a MonsterMania. Which, by the way, got me some fake fangs finally.
Yeah.
How many times have we seen Horror Show Jack at convention? All the way back to like Heroes and Villains Fan Fest, which is a defunct con now because the management fell apart. But way back then, we were still seeing like Horror Show Jack. Some vendors repeat all the way through. Finally, after 6 years, I got my own fangs.
If you go to a lot, you'll see, you might find like the same artists, same vendors, because some people, this is their job. They just go to cons and they sell them the merch on the floor. They don't even have like online stores or Etsy or anything like that. So some people, it's their life and that's what they like to do.
So
anyway,
to bring it home, with regard to venue, there are pros and cons to having a large venue or a small venue. And it honestly depends on the audience. Like, to be 100%, 1,000% honest, I think MonsterMania as a convention has outgrown hotels. I do think that the one, we've been to two in the past 2 years. One we went to in New Jersey. That hotel is much smaller, and I think it's intolerable. Like, it's just, I'm sure the con is wonderful. The people that run the con are wonderful. The hotel itself, I'm sure, is wonderful under any other circumstances, but it's just too small. For the amount of crowds that the con brings in, I think that it's very congested at the Cherry Hill, New Jersey location. The one we went to was in Hunt Valley, Maryland. So that hotel is spread out over it's actually got a convention center built in. It goes by escalator downstairs in the hotel to the convention floor. And it's not the biggest convention center. I don't even think you could really call it a convention center in the traditional sense. But it is much bigger than the Cherry Hill location. And I feel like they do have some leeway there that they don't have the other ones. So,
and we were told when we were there that was the highest attendance they ever had for months.
Yeah, and it didn't feel bad. So I think that like the other hotel is just too small. Like, that at the end of the day, you need to kind of, as a con owner, and I'm speaking to con owners, I suppose. I know we're talking to general audience members here, but like, just as like, if you're thinking from the perspective of a con owner, you need to be aware of how many tickets you're selling and how many people you're drawing to this event, in addition to how many people might cross paths with the event organically, and kind of weigh the venue from there. I do think that, like, if you put MonsterMania in the Megacon convention complex, it would be way too small.
Yeah.
People would be kind of like crossing long distances to get where they wanted to go, and just not enough to fill the space. It would not
be worth the rent for that space.
But there are transitional locations too, like smaller convention complexes, I think, or like, for Hunt Valley, Maryland, like the next closest thing would be like the Maryland Fairgrounds. I think would be a great place for MonsterMania to grow
if the weather cooperated.
Ria's on her own account now. Welsh Goddess. I like it. So, let's talk about the next category. Money! We spend a lot of money on this channel. Just a lot of money.
We were supposed to lay low after Hawaii.
We knew we weren't going to do that. Well, we went to Disney. What did you expect?
Okay, I guess it was supposed to. We did lay low, and then we went to Disney. We're supposed to lay low.
We need to just sit on our hands is what we need to do. Because as long as we have access to a credit card, like, the money is going to keep going. The balance is going to keep going up. So, for large conventions, Megacon, I looked into this again because I forgot. I genuinely forget how much I pay, because like 3 or 4 months goes by before I actually attend the event, and I forget what it costs to get through the door. But Megacon costs about $100 for the busiest days, which were Saturday and Sunday. It's dynamic pricing, so it was a little bit less for Thursday and Friday. It was a 4-day event. If you went all 4 days, you could easily wind up spending $200 on general admission. There were higher tiers as well that were not available for smaller cons like MonsterMania, and those you would definitely pay like a pretty penny. Like the VIP celebrity VIPs, which did wind up, getting people breezing past this, which I think is a flawed system to begin with, but whatever. The more expensive the experience, the more money you stand to spend on entrance fees. Now, having said that, you can also spend an awful lot of money on celebrities. So the reason that I put this subtitles like celebrities over merch is because at large conventions, that is kind of how things wind up shaking out for us. We go to see celebrities that we've seen on TV, in movies, and if you're not familiar with the con circuit, like celebrities do go to these conventions. Like Christina Ricci was our big draw for MonsterMania, right? David Arquette was also there. We didn't get to meet him. It's a sad story, but you'll see. But
like the celebrities at Megacon were like
wall to wall.
Chevy Chase, Harry Winkler, Zachary Levi,
James McAvoy. Christina Ricci was actually supposed to be at Megacon, but she bailed the last second.
4 other screen people. So like depending on what you like, maybe there's only 1 or 2 celebs you'd be willing to wait in the line for. There was a lot we were going to try to wait in lines for at Megacon. But anyway, so larger celebrities. I don't want to say larger celebrities.
I mean, it's a reality of Hollywood that some names are bigger than others.
Bigger name celebrities, for the lack of a better word or term for it. They get a lot of draw for the big cons, and they also cost more money for their autograph, for their photos. After you do 1 or 2 photos and autographs,
you start draining the bank. You start draining the bank. You hit those ATMs once, you'll be hitting them all day. So we were talking to some people in line for when we met James McAvoy, which was a very, very quick encounter, and we'll talk about autographs as well. But that was a big on our to-do because, we love him from so many things. We were talking to some other people who had traveled all the way from the UK to have like a Central Florida trip similar to ours. They were staying much longer. And they were saying that Charlie Cox, if you're familiar with him, he plays Daredevil in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Netflix shows, but he was in Stardust way back when. So people knew him originally from things like Stardust, and they would go and see Charlie Cox as a convention guest, and some people would know who he was, but a lot of people would have no idea. And so these people that we were talking to were saying in their lovely British accents, like, I will never forgive myself for the day that I had, I think it was in the early days of him as Daredevil even. So like he was still a bigger name than he perhaps was when we were first exposed to him. But when they were at this particular convention in London, he had no line. And his autograph price was something like
$40.
It was pounds, but it was like the equivalent of $65. Now it's like today at Megacon, it's over $100 for a photo and over $100 for autograph. If you do both, you are nearing $300 on just Charlie Cox. And
Charlie.
Did I say Harley?
You said Carly Cox.
Carly Cox? Charlie Cox. I'm having strokes every day now. He is probably I've heard great things about him. I'm sure he's a wonderful person to interact with, and I have paid more to get less. But I'm not sure I can justify $300 for just Charlie Cox. So we didn't do that. He was at MegaCon. We did not bother with that. But his line was all the way around the block. But
I do want to say, like, that is no dig on anyone who did. That is totally up to you what you want to throw your money at. I mean, some people are probably sitting here like, I don't know why you want to pay that much money to get 3 seconds to talk to a celebrity. Sometimes I wonder. I do bring up that comment though.
Yeah, I will say, Jason David Frank was tragically lost to us earlier this year. He was the original Green Ranger from Power Rangers, and he was well beloved by pretty much every con attendee everywhere. I will say I'm not the hugest Power Rangers fan, but we knew Jason David Frank.
Yeah.
So I will also say, believe it or not, like it matters monetarily what shows you're part of. So if you're a convention nerd that goes to every convention, as a celebrity, if you're a convention nerd that goes to every convention that you can possibly get in on, which Jason David Frank absolutely was.
He really liked them.
He spent so much time with fans. He spent so much time talking to fans. Like he would set his rates lower so that he would be more accessible to people.
Yeah.
So he was actually not that expensive to talk to or get a photo with. I think he hovered around like the $55, $60 mark for both. But tragically, a lot of people never got their chance to get their photo with him. And I honestly, I've seen him roaming around. I have in the past at other cons. I've seen him roaming around.
The very first time I ever saw him was actually at Otakon. Which is a Baltimore it used to be a Baltimore anime convention. It's now in DC because it got too big. But he was one of the big headliners for Otakon for many years.
He was a good guy.
Anyway.
And celebrities can do that too. Like they'll set their rates a little bit lower. Sometimes it comes down to talent management, and also celebrities don't make a whole lot of money at conventions. You would not think that from like how expensive they are, but like they're paying a lot of like talent acquisition fees and whatnot, and a lot of that is going through their labels or their brands, and it's coming out of the pocket before it gets. So like they have to set their rates higher sometimes to justify putting in the appearance and taking a day off work, especially if they're movie stars. So you can anticipate that bigger stars who are losing more work by being there and interacting with fans, they're doing that for you. They're going to be more expensive.
Yeah. And there also is some level of like crowd control too, I think.
Yeah.
With people they expect to be popular.
I did skip this one real quick. The giant.
I don't remember how much the
is around $60.
Oh really?
Yeah, it wasn't
that bad.
It wasn't bad, but it's still. I mean, it's a glorified action figure. So
yeah,
I'm not gonna pay $60 for that.
Yeah, it was.
There were little Godzillas that were like $5. I was like, I might pay for one of those.
It wasn't like, if I remember correctly, the one that we showed in the vlog wasn't like a maquette or whatever. It wasn't
it was like
a statue.
It was like posable, but
it was like a big toy. I'm not using that in a derogatory way or anything. I
like toys.
I'm sitting next to a giant stuffed animal of Olaf over there, so I like my. Yes, that is our Olaf.
Anyways,
I have no problem with adults buying toys. Okay.
Well, that's actually good. That's a good segue because at smaller conventions where the price tag is lower to get in the door, this is where the opposite is true. Like we'll typically spend more on merch than we will celebrities. We went to MonsterMania again, primarily for Christina Ricci. There were other celebrities in attendance that had much bigger names even than Ricci. William Shatner was there for one day. It was absolutely wall-to-wall slammed. Well, his lines anyway. We didn't have too bad a time like down in the convention center areas, but William Shatner got quite a crowd, and he was $100 a photo op, $100 an autograph, which is not bad compared to like Charlie Cox, honestly.
Yeah.
And for as much of an impact as William Shatner has had on the industry, felt like it was kind of underpricing him, but
yeah, but I think, I mean, it could be like maybe his autograph used to be more, and he's kind of lowered it to since well, let's just say.
Do you think maybe he's having a hard time spelling his name?
No,
he's 92 years old.
I was saying he's 92 years old. We only have a certain amount of time.
Kane Hodder couldn't spell Tim. So. We'll talk about it. That's a funny story. That's not because of age. That's because we distracted him.
Yeah.
Anyway. So what we did at MonsterMania Con was we spent a fair amount on Christina Ricci, and we spent Kane Hodder plays Jason, as in like Friday the 13th Jason, in several of the movies. So we spent a not insubstantial amount, insubstantial. We spent some money on Kane Hodder in costume as Jason from one of the Friday the 13th movies, because that was a pretty cool photo op. And he's a great guy. We spent some time talking to him too. But other than that, we were not really there for celebrities. We were there for like the experience, for the cosplay, for like the different merch and the vendors, and spend on vendors we did.
Oh my god!
Because there was like I'll go ahead and plug the teas. It was
Brutalities. I meant to bring my tea in here.
It's Brutale and like spelled like brutalities, and then Teas, and every tea was named after like a horror movie franchise
or something. So like I bought a Chai Day the 13th. I bought Screamsicle.
All nutty horror.
Almondyville
horror.
Which I know nutty. Vanessa loves Amityville Horror. I think that's one of your favorite horror movies. So it's an oolong tea based
Coaster Mom
based on Almondyville Horror. Anyway, that took me a while to say that. Hi, Coaster Mom. Welcome to the live stream.
So we spent a lot on tea. There was hot sauce, like individual, like small business hot sauce creators there. We bought a lot of that, and we bought beef jerky that was handmade, or not handmade, but
pins like galore.
Lots of pins. We bought a board game. Like everything we're describing to you is not like off the rack at Target. This is like stuff that like people put together on their own. Like someone sat down and developed an entire board game with 8 expansion packs 7 years ago. And a soundtrack for the board game, and then they had their opportunity to sell it at conventions like these, where they're going to hit their ideal demographic, which is us. And so we walk in and we spend literally hundreds of dollars on merch. Now you can still spend on merch at an event like Megacon, and you will. Like if you're not bringing enough leeway to like pick up like Artist Alley prints and little things like that, you're under budgeting. But at the smaller cons is where the small businesses really get a chance to shine, and you will see such variety from like one booth to the next to the next to the next. Even the stuff that you think is going to be like, oh, well, there's Chucky and there's Freddy Krueger and there's like, it's a horror convention. You're going to see prints like that. But there's so much variety between those different booths. Like one might offer like metal prints, the next might offer dioramas, the next might offer themed tea. Like it's so unique the way that people approach these different things and try to like reach new audiences with something that they love blended with fandoms that everyone loves. Well, not everyone in MonsterMania's case, but like, you know, everyone at MonsterMania certainly. Matcha during the week, tea during the week is what she's saying.
Said he's a matcha fan right up there.
Personally a fan of matcha.
Yes, I said it's an Amityville themed tea, but it's called the Almondyville Horror, and that's the tea because it's like an oolong tea with like kind of a nutty finish. It was really good.
It's in the vlog in all its glory. So
we'll
like
send you
on
a picture
Thursday,
of the tea bag so you can see what I mean. It's hard to say Almondyville. Which I was wondering if maybe it was supposed to be a play on how they pronounce almonds in California, which is almonds.
Night Vale.
Now I can't even say it. Like welcome to Night Vale. I listened to that podcast a long time ago. I don't know if that's what you're referring to. Anyway, so
I didn't listen to the podcast, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't know,
but Night Vale sounds like a cool tea flavor to me.
Well, if it's a tea flavor, I don't know, but I know it was a podcast at some point, and maybe still is. Anyway, yes. Woo! Yay! Welcome to Night Vale. Don't ask me anything. I haven't listened in so long, but I should get back into it because I'm back into podcasts now. Anyway.
So all of the teas will be in the blog. I can promise you that because I have been editing that over the past couple of days. That will be out on Thursday. So you will get to see brutalities in all of its glory, but also like several other small vendors.
You can see why, like, and also we just love to talk to the vendors and get to know them, and then when you talk to them for a while, you're just like, I have to buy this from you. It's just like you can't not do it after you. So anyway, it's just be prepared. Either bring have blinders or only bring the cash that you want to spend, because if you're anything like us,
the second you hear a story, you're buying something. Because all small business owners have a story. And I'm not saying that as like, you know, oh, salespeople run away. I'm saying like they're compelling stories. Like
you'll want to support them.
People have built up businesses on nothing less than hopes and dreams. Staffing. So we won't spend too much time on this because I don't want to drag anyone or any particular convention. But I will say that we have noticed at larger conventions, volunteers are more plentiful than people who are paid to be there. They're more spread out. There's a lot more crowd control and a lot less people who actually know things.
Yeah.
So like at Megacon, we approached several people trying to get a handle on where we should go or what we should do to talk about something or the other. If you don't approach someone about the area you're in, like at photo ops, the only thing they know is photo ops. Like they'll tell you you can go stand in that line, that line, that line. But even then, they might not know, like, you know, how you process a refund if your celebrity canceled and you weren't refunded previously. Like they won't know the nitty gritty of what they're dealing with because there's so many different facets and so many different moving pieces. And even when they're all interconnected by walkie-talkie, like communication breakdowns are bound to happen. At smaller conventions, this isn't as much of an issue. You've got less ground to cover. Often, not always, but often, these events are family run or, you know, co-owned, and there's fewer people to inform of things. There's less to know because it's a smaller space with less capacity, and there's more communication into the lower ranks. I don't think we spoke to a single blue shirt at MonsterMania Con who didn't have an answer to our question.
Yeah.
Which was not the case at Megacon. And it wasn't the case at AwesomeCon when we went to AwesomeCon in 2019 last either, which we'd really like to go back there, but we're not going to be able to make it this year. The rules apply. Like the larger the convention is, the harder it's going to be to keep everyone on the same page. So you can kind of expect a little bit of chaos at larger conventions, and you'll probably have to seek out an information desk to get like the most accurate, up-to-date information, as opposed to just approaching a staff member on the floor. At smaller conventions, you can find the nearest staff member and probably get what you're looking for, which I think is an advantage of the smaller conventions.
True that.
Not a whole lot to talk about on that one, so I'm going to go ahead and push forward.
Exactly.
Photo ops.
A lot to talk about this.
We have a lot to talk about on photo ops. So when you're talking about celebrities, there's two kinds of interactions you can have at a con. There are professional.
Well, technically 3.
You talking about selfies?
No, I guess they're not really interactions.
Or panels?
I was gonna say panels.
Yeah. Okay. Well, at larger conventions and smaller conventions, there are panels. So we'll start there and put a pin in it. Panels are where the celebrity will walk out on stage, they'll answer your questions, they'll have a fixed amount of time to do it, so not everyone's question will be answered, and a panelist or an MC will kind of like make sure that things move along and they stay on schedule. That's not a whole lot of interaction. You can have like a lot of kind of intimate moments with the celebrity in the sense of if they answer your question or a question that you like hearing answered, they'll tell a story about it, you'll get to know them a little bit better than you would have otherwise, and that can be fun. But I'll be honest, the panel is going to be posted on YouTube the next day. Someone in the room is recording it. Whether it's a staff member or whether it's someone who's sitting in the front row or someone in the very back with their phone, it's going to be on YouTube. So it's not the same.
If it's your goal to get in there and get up there first so that you can ask a question of a person, and that's what you want to do, that's really fine. We have almost never prioritized panels at conventions.
This is a very strange question.
No, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the Chalk Twins Voyager.
Oh, yo!
We haven't checked up on that.
Yeah, we need to check that. We did need to check up. That was when we were at Megacon. We were looking at a booth called the Chalk Twins, like a merch vendor, and they're artists. They're artists, but they are also like they're selling prints and canvases and whatnot. We're going to wind up spending a lot of money with them in the future because we did take their card. They're working on something that we really wanted, which was a Star Trek Voyager like mock-up in canvas form. We're kind of geeks when it comes to Voyager in particular, but that was that question was like, how do you know about that? So
if we have time, we'll
talk about something else that is relevant. But
no, I knew exactly what he was talking about.
So let's talk about photo ops because this is a big one that's going to draw a lot of people. No matter what con you're going to at this point, there is often a celebrity photo op option. There's 2 ways to interact with celebrities more directly than you could at a panel.
Basis,
Either you can take a professional photo through the photo op, or you can get an autograph at their table. Sometimes autographs will come bundled with selfies for a certain price point. Photo ops are always going to be a little bit more expensive than table selfies, but not always more expensive than their autograph. Because these are going to be like professionally done. So at larger conventions, a lot of people will pay hundreds of dollars each for photos with celebrities, us included. We love doing celebrity photo ops. It's like half the reason we go is for the celebrity photo ops. But the larger the convention, the more people are going to pay in. The more chaos is going to be up at the front near the photo op area. and the more bottlenecking they're going to have to do to get those people into organized lines. So this is a picture. We actually pulled this from a previous live stream we did about convention etiquette, which if you haven't seen that one, it was like a year ago. Go back and watch it. We had a friend on. It was great. But this is an organized line for photo ops that goes for 1.5 miles, as you can see. And it has been distilled to this after it's been choked out by a bottleneck. Like, it doesn't become this until it's herded into this.
Yeah.
Like, people will cram into a giant clump at the front of the photo ops area. And this, in particular, we've noticed any events where the convention center is large enough to accommodate multiple ops at the same time, especially by very famous people. Matthew Lillard, Zachary Levi, and James McAvoy all at the same time. That's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
A mess.
Wow, we're
Because
really
they're going to be like
selling
right
people
next to
on
each
going
other.
to conventions, aren't we?
I mean, but you take the pros with the cons.
Pros with the cons.
Pros with the cons.
Anyway.
And you take the pro photo ops at the cons.
Cons.
So this line may exist at a smaller con too, but it won't be quite as dramatic. It won't be quite as what's the word? Chaotic. Getting people into this line because there's fewer people to organize.
I will say, sorry, this is one other thing. At the larger conventions, more people, more things going on. You really need to pay attention. They'll often have like a board or something, kind of like your flight board.
It's
have
exactly
like
that. It's like
board,
departures and
you
arrivals.
need to make sure that your photo op hasn't changed times, which was really hard for us to do because there was literally hundreds of people standing in front of that board. So one thing at a larger one, like one time we had a photo op that was supposed to go off at, I'm making up a time, like 3:30, that got moved to like 5:30 or something like that.
That was almost exact. Actually.
So that's another thing you have to keep track of. And if you miss it, like they're not going to bring the celebrity back just for you. So,
I will also say at these larger conventions in particular, like if you have overlapping, like if you buy 2 photo ops, we had one with Tara Strong, a voice actress, which obviously was going to have a shorter line than the other, which was the entire Scream cast, like from the Scream movies. We did wind up getting both pictures, but because of a schedule change, they were literally right on top of each other. So we got in line. If that happens to you, you have to tell someone. Like, you have to tell a staff member, we are in line for this person, but we have another one that is at the same time for these people. They will tell you where to go and when to go. And if all else fails, they will pull you out of one line to take you through the other one and make sure that you get both done.
Yeah.
But it's going to be chaos getting there. So kind of have to prepare for that. Like, it's so worth it once you get used to things, but kind of like Genie Plus at Disney World. Like, if you go in not knowing anything, it's easy to be disappointed by how chaotic it is.
And also, like, to be clear, these photo ops are going off like this.
They do go
like,
quick.
This is not the meet and greet time. Like, if you wanna go and hug someone, go in for the hug. It's fine if they're comfortable with it.
Yeah, if they consent. Like,
yeah.
I was gonna say, not everyone wants to be touched.
Yeah,
but most celebrities who are doing photo ops
are okay with this, or whatever. We like to do fun ones, so usually we have like a quick reference photo to show them, and they know how to do the pose or whatnot. But it's like pretty quick, so
you got to be ready.
That is the case no matter where you are.
Especially if you're doing like a big celebrity or a big name, like. I know it's hard not to get starstruck, but like if you want a good picture and you know exactly what you're after, like just kind of rehearse it before you get in there, because you'll have plenty of time. It's easy for all that to drain right out of your head when you see the person as you're like you'll see them before you get in the photo with them. Like, you'll see a couple people ahead of you as you get around the curtain. So just try your best to prepare, know what you're getting into, and if you have a pose that you want to try and it's an appropriate pose that the celebrity will consent to, have it ready. Have it practice, know what you want, and then, just don't take your time.
This applies to everything too, but like if you blink or the photo's out of focus, they're checking that. So they will retake it if there is something wrong with it. But you have to let them know like immediately. Anyway, okay. That's really IAPA.
I will say this is an interesting point too, because we've talked in the past. Actually, I think with Vanessa, I had a conversation. Like, expos are a little bit different than conventions, because expos, the entire point is to showcase products. or services, but like mostly it's to draw people together to highlight like a big new reveal or a grand new something or other.
Technology or something.
At IAPA, it's all coasters all the time and theme park rides. So like I do want to attend IAPA someday, and I do want to document. And Transworld is also an expo that I would love to see. But there's not really the same kind of like fandom draw. It's more so they're trying to organize around promoting new things. Here, you're gathering to pay money in to be a part of things that have already applied to everyone or impacted everyone, rather. So celebrity photo ops will conflict sometimes in ways that IAPA panels do not. But if you know what you're doing, if you look at the schedule, if you figure out what you want to purchase in advance and you try to prepay as much as possible, you can get a lot done. You can. There's still going to be lines.
Yeah.
Now, talking of lines, I will say smaller conventions often will work with smaller photo op companies who are bringing their own branded backdrops, organizing people into smaller groups. Celeb photo ops at MonsterMania, they do group A, group B, group C for certain celebrities that are bound to have longer lines. So they will tell you, don't show up for A group if you're B group. You are 15 minutes later on purpose.
Yeah.
And they are really, really good at organizing. Like even at the smaller conventions.
There was only one time that we walked by on Saturday that I was like, oh, wait, this is nuts. But other than that, they kept the photo op area very
And that was not
clear.
That was not it's Celeb Photo Ops was the vendor at MonsterMania. That was not their fault that it got that congested, because that was people not following instructions.
Yeah.
That was I think that was the Terrifier group cast.
Yeah.
That people were gathering for. And the Terrifier is a little beyond our gore tolerance, so it doesn't really draw us the way it does others. But some people are really, really into the Terrifier movies, and I don't hold that against them at all. These people were like clustering well before their photo op time, because I'm sure they planned their entire day around it and they didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So as soon as things started moving, like Celeb Photo Ops was really quick about like, all right, we cannot have this space flooded with people. Everyone get in a line. If you're not in a line, you should be in a line. Come tell me where you are, who you're, or what time you have, who you're supposed to be seeing, and I'll organize you into a line.
Yeah.
Ow.
You okay? Just took out the table.
I'm very passionate.
Yeah, but
So-
they were I think they only had one camera room at this con, right?
They
at
did.
MonsterMania.
Yep, so there were
it was
no
literally one
double-
photo session at a time. So there weren't like people all lining up like it was at Megacon trying
Right.
to figure. Like we stood in that photo clump for like 15 minutes, only to be told, "Hey, your Terror Strong op is 2 hours from now."
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
so
Definitely, I prefer the experience at smaller conventions. But having said that, smaller conventions don't draw as big name guests. So like, I like going to both types of conventions, but I think small conventions have an advantage over larger conventions when it comes to how photo ops with celebrities are managed. I will also say, like, the process is still quick. Don't get me wrong, and it
Yeah.
should be quick, and it's not meet and greet time. But I have noticed the celebrities do not feel as panicked and rushed at smaller conventions because there are fewer people in line to see them. Even if those people have overwhelmed the hotel complex, it's still less than a convention center accommodates. And to the celebrity who's standing in an air-conditioned room, often it's the same game, and they're just dealing with fewer people. So they have a little bit more time to like take a breath in between people. I'm assuming
We
that's
have
about
a-
the Terrifier.
we have a Terrifier
Or wait,
fan.
are we talking about
Wait.
Tremors?
Wait, when you said Terrifier, my mind went to the Tremors.
Tremors, maybe
the movies.
series.
Oh, okay, Tremors.
Tremors, we do like.
I did.
I do
yeah.
like Tremors.
Yeah.
I
didn't hate it.
have a plan.
I guess Kevin Bacon was only in the first one.
He was going to be in a TV series, and then they killed the TV series after the
Yeah.
pilot was shot, and I'm still furious about it. So, MonsterMania, this is from our first MonsterMania con. This was probably the highlight of the con for us, was just meeting Dana De Lorenzo from Ash vs. the Evil Dead. And I don't even think you've seen Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
I have not.
But
I
you,
didn't.
but you got along fine with Dana
I
De Lorenzo because
knew-
she's so accessible.
Other people in that, yeah, because I told you I was like, "Do you want to be in the photo?"
Oh,
by
they were talking-
yourself?
Ree was talking about Tremors.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tremors is amazing. I will say Tremors is good.
Yeah.
Ash vs. the Evil Dead is pretty good too, but you do have to have kind of a tolerance for disgust.
Well,
to
I
enjoy
think
it.
actually now I'm remembering. I think he wanted me in the photo because he wanted to do the like Scooby Doo like. we're
I
scared
totally did.
pose, and it
This
wouldn't
is a
have made
perfect
sense
example of
without-
a fun celebrity pose, because like we approached her we had this on our phone, like we practiced it, and we were like, can we pop out from behind you and look scared while you like face down the dead eggs? And she goes, how do I look like I'm like pissed off and ready to face down? I'll figure something out.
Well, later
and she took this picture, and then we brought it to her to sign.
She's like, oh no, I look like a bad word.
She literally says like, I look pissed.
Yes, that was it. I look pissed.
She was like, I look like I'm unhappy to be, and her inscription on our thing was like, I'm so sorry. I meant to look like I was having fun.
I was like, I'm not mad, I promise.
She was super nice. But like that's more valuable to me than a panel, or even like, I think that's worth paying for a celebrity photo op if it's fun like that, because then you create a memory. It's not
if
just
you do take it back to that celebrity, they often are like, oh yeah, that was fun. Like
yeah.
One that we should have put in this that we didn't was when we literally brought a pair of underpants to the Boy Meets World cast, and they definitely thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, Corey Matthews running for Congress, I think, so he might not do any more cons. So I'm glad we have that picture. We have a picture with every Boy Meets World cast member except for Mr. Feeney and Topanga.
Well, of the
core. Yeah, they're
core.
all in there except for
not
those two. So, if nothing else, we have that memory. And well, yeah, I mean, we didn't throw the underpants away. Autographs, since we're talking about bringing things for people to sign. So, at large conventions, there will always be longer lines, which you might have noticed is a theme. This also means, in terms of autographs, that you get less time to interact with the celebrity because they are rushed. They're trying to get through as many people as possible. A tragic experience at our home con, AwesomeCon, which under normal circumstances, we love AwesomeCon. And I think we loved going to AwesomeCon even the year that this happened. But they got the current Doctor and the current companion from Doctor Who, which was Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman. I'm kind of hit or miss on Peter Capaldi. I haven't seen enough of him. We're behind. We're well behind, so don't post any spoilers or whatnot. But I haven't seen enough of him to get excited about his performance. So I have seen Jenna Coleman in other things, and I have, kind of gotten excited about.
She was at the tail end.
She was at the tail end of 11, yeah. So I got excited about her presence and all that. And if you don't watch Doctor Who, this is all nonsense to you, but it will be relevant in a second. So they had the then and now, like the current stars of Doctor Who there at the con for the first time, and they were totally underprepared for how popular those two were going to be. They way oversold tickets. And the VIP system, which I think has been reworked, which is more than I can say for FanExpo events. The VIP system at AwesomeCon, they had so many people to work through who had paid so much more than the general admission people that they were just letting the VIP line drain. No matter how many people added to the line at the very end, just walked up and got in it as it was about to empty out. They would just hold the general admission line and let the VIPs go and go and go and go and go. We didn't pay for VIP. So we were standing in line waiting for our opportunity to walk up and talk to the stars. It must have been like 2.5 hours just standing in line. It was a ridiculous amount of time. By the time general admission gets a chance to like walk up and this is for photos, which are supposed to be quick. By the time we get up to take our photo with Jenna Coleman, she was lovely. And I could tell that she was having like a minor like meltdown trying to get through as many people as possible, because she really does seem like she likes her fans and she wants to talk to people. But she was like, come on. All right, see you next time. Yeah. Like it was kind of like, it felt like a little bit insincere, like not on her part, but like just like the whole experience. It felt like we'd been shafted, to be honest with you. Like we paid the same amount of money we would have to have a fun photo, and instead we got bye. Yeah. Like it was really,
but
really.
But she may have also been like instructed to keep things going.
Oh, I'm sure she was, but that's my point.
It was no dig against her, really.
Like the amount of time that you have in a photo op is always less than you would have in an autograph. But an autograph can often have less interaction as well, because when you walk up, if the line is that long. That was an example from photo ops, but it also applies to autographs.
I got lost for a second. I was like, did we move on to autographs, or am I just
No, we did move on to autographs, but that was what I was like, it was in top of mind where I was like, by the time we got up for autographs to Jenna Coleman, she was almost done. Like
Well, I'm pretty sure that both Peter Capaldi and Jenna Coleman stayed an extra like 2 hours
They did.
after the floor closed to make sure that everyone who paid for an autograph actually
So did
got
the
them.
Scream people at Megacon.
Yeah.
Like it was quite a while before those celebrities were able to go home. And again, they lose money when they come to cons. It's not exactly a fair shake, but they do it because they like being there. Some
Or
celebrities,
their agent says it's good.
some
for their
celebrities,
image.
there are very few, and I know some names that I will not name, but there are some celebrities who hate going to cons, and they do it because their agents are like, you have to interface with the fans. Most celebrities go to cons because they want to interact with fans, and if they are put through the ringer on autographs and photo ops and they have way oversold the con and people are just in an endless line and they want to talk and talk and talk, sometimes by the time they get to you, your interaction will be very quick and somewhat painful. Like, no one is rude on purpose, but you can definitely tell when a celebrity has been drained by how much interacting they've done in a day.
And I mean, I'm sure that artist has probably come to
Otakon.
conventions and on
I'm
the
100%
States. There's
sure
a ton of
Otakon.
anime conventions, and anime conventions aren't the only place you can meet. Manga
Otakon and
artists
Katsucon are the ones near us that are anime centric, and we haven't been to Otakon in a while because it was.
But they've had
We had some trouble with lines at Otakon.
They've definitely had like, I would say like anime and manga celebrities at like AwesomeCon and stuff too.
Yeah. But they usually come as secondary.
Yeah. What I was gonna say regarding larger conventions and autographs, in order to keep things going, often a lot of the bigger celebrities or longer lines, they will not allow you to personalize, or they'll limit the number of things you can get signed, which I agree with completely, because Mr. Gonna sell my stuff on eBay showing up with his cart full of 10 things.
That's something that we
drives
need
me
to talk
nuts.
about. That is something we need to talk about.
But they often don't allow personalization. So sometimes for free, or not for free, included with the price of your autograph, they can write like, "Dear Tim and Katie, it was so nice to meet you. Love, Jenna Coleman." And that, is personalized. But sometimes, like James McAvoy, I don't think he was doing personalizations. Was he doing personalizations? I can't remember.
McAvoy?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't ask for one.
Okay.
I don't think.
Sometimes they just sign they sign their name and that's it. So you can't always get, and when they are writing, like the longer they write, the longer you get to see them and talk to them. So that, again, that interaction can be cut, way shorter. You're not going to get a chance to have them answer you might not get them to answer your burning question for them. Usually we just try to say, thanks for being here. We really enjoyed X work that you did. Goodbye.
But you did bring up something that we should talk about, and that's like at larger conventions in particular, you will see a lot of people who have literally driven 150 miles in a van full of photo ops and memorabilia, like 8x10s of celebrities or props from shows they've been part of, or posters where they're trying to collect the entire cast. And I have no problem with that if it's one thing. But a lot of these people run aggregate businesses where they will take signed memorabilia and they will auction it off on eBay or through an online marketplace or whatever, that they go and they do the legwork to get stuff signed for you, and then they'll just sell you whatever at a significantly higher price than they paid for it. Same as they would, hawking Disney merch. Like people go and clean out Splash Mountain on the day it's announced closed, and all that merch is gone the next day and it's sold for $600 on eBay. The celebrity lines will be overwhelmed often by VIPs. They will pay more money to get, because they figure they can make it all back on selling the merch that they get signed. Yeah. So they'll walk up and they'll short the line and they'll, be admitted before you, and they'll hold you up by 35 minutes because they have literally 35 things to get signed. Yeah. They will get personalization on none of it. It will mean nothing to them. They're selling it the next day. That will happen at any con. You might be unfortunate enough to see someone walking up with a bucket or a stroller of stuff to get signed as you're standing in line waiting for a genuine interaction with the celebrity. And that is, unfortunately, that is allowed. It shouldn't be, but it is. So I will say at larger conventions, it is more likely to happen because more celebrities will be in one place. It'll be more worth somebody's time to drive the extra distance to get things signed.
But you will find that some celebrities do have like if they are pre-buy only, like you may be only able to pre-buy like 5 and that's it. So I would prefer they do that. Like I understand if people have a business. I've purchased things online that are something signed by someone, which meant that someone went through that process for me to do it. I don't buy them that much anymore because
now we physically go and we have memories instead.
But I've done that before, so I don't want to like say like people aren't doing like an honest business or whatever, but it does kind of it does get a little bit annoying when you're waiting in line and it's like you don't even care about this person.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's we try not to gripe.
This photo is from Megacon, but it's from a different year. This is Zachary Levi when I believe this was back when he was like playing Shazam for the first time and he was a big name, but he's also, you know, he's from Tangled and he's from Chuck and all kinds of other things from before the superhero era, and he loves talking to fans. So like celebrities will try to spend as much time as possible with people, but at larger conventions, their time is often cut short. At the end of the day, that's the big disadvantage of
I will say, and this is not something we've been able to take advantage of, but if you are bringing your cute little bebe to the convention,
they will spend more time with the baby.
Like to look at the bebe. So just saying. If we haven't taken advantage of that.
If you don't have a child, get one.
No. Often they will like to make goo-goo eyes at the baby. So
smaller conventions is just the reverse. There's fewer people to please. There's often fewer aggregates in the line with you trying to get multiple things signed. Not always the case, but is often the case. More intimate, you have more time for interaction. And I will tell you a really quick story, or maybe Katie will. I don't know if she'll beat me to it. At MonsterMania, where William Shatner was in attendance, but his line was out the door and around the corner, we decided, hey, you know, it would be really cool to meet him, but it doesn't look like it'll be worth our time because we're going to spend so much time in that line. We could be doing several other things. And we were vlogging, so we wanted to have a good vlog and not, you know, blow 2.5 hours of our only day. But here we are sitting at the Starbucks down the hall that's part of the convention center and the hotel conventions. It's literally called the convention center, so I'm not wrong for calling it that.
I know,
but it is a hotel. It's a hotel convention
center. I want
to
remind people we were at the smaller one.
It was a smaller con.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at the Starbucks in the hotel and
I hear there's someone around the corner sitting in like a lounging area and I just hear this woman say, oh gosh. Hi, how are you?
She said all of that. Was she okay?
And I just looked up because I was having like just a being tired moment, and I looked up and I could see down the hall was someone heading toward us on a electronic scooter. And I just looked him because we were both sitting there just like looking at our phones, taking a break, and I just said, William Shatner's about to drive by us, so. And he did. And we were cool.
He just scooted right on by. I mean, we made eye contact, but we said nothing.
Yeah. I did not take out my phone. I did not do anything like that.
He was literally, and he wasn't followed by like a huge crowd either. He was just, scooting on by. He was like, hello.
Yep.
Kept going. So, yeah, I mean, that does happen at smaller cons. And that's... William Shatner is an excellent example because everyone knows who he is, but like James Remar and Robin Lively, I've seen both of them wandering around the halls at MonsterMania. And even mid-sized conventions, like back in the day, Heroes and Villains Fan Fest before it fell apart, was a spin-off based in superhero culture that was spun off of Walker Stalker Con, which was a Walking Dead convention. And at Heroes and Villains, John Barrowman, some people know who he is. He's on Doctor Who and he was on Arrow. Was free roaming. He was, participating in some like bungee jumping activities and whatnot. He really wanted to explore the floor.
Yeah.
Neil McDonough, same deal. He's from Star Trek too, in addition, or First Contact specifically. Yeah. But like he's done a ton of other stuff. Resident Evil. And then Robbie Kay, who played Peter Pan in Once Upon a Time. Like I've literally like run into him and been like, oh, sorry, Robbie. And he said, no problem. Kept going. So smaller conventions, the smaller they are, the less celebrities will use like back passageways to get
Yeah.
places, the more they will just like kind of free roam around. And even if you don't pay for interactions, sometimes you get them.
Yep.
Not saying like you should chase down the celebrities when you see them because they need personal space, but you might see them in the hallway and just be like, hey, and they're people too. Like they feel more like
Yeah.
people at smaller
Which is
conventions.
why I didn't want to take out my phone and snap a photo of William Shatner on his
On a little scooter.
because it's just, I don't know. I just didn't feel like it was right.
You should have been like, Warp 9, Captain.
That actually would have been funny.
He probably would have thought we were jackasses.
So probably.
Good ones.
Yeah, never heard that before. That's
Anyway.
right. I just wanted to be polite and not be like, because he's doing, I think he might be doing like his last con circuit this year.
He's 92. He is
honestly,
92
guys,
years old.
He doesn't
He
look
looks
that bad.
He looks 70.
Honestly,
at best.
he looked worse a few years ago, I feel like. But hopefully that doesn't mean he's like sick or whatever. But he looks pretty good. So anyway.
There's a whole
conversation.
There's a whole
going
sidebar
on.
going on about like My Hero Academia and One Piece, and I'm like, I actually do watch both shows. I don't watch One Piece religiously, but I have watched enough of it to engage.
I have seen some One Piece. I will never invest in what it will take to finish that show.
We both really, really love My Hero Academia.
Yeah, My Hero Academia is awesome.
But I will probably never cosplay it because I feel like I would butcher characters.
He doesn't. We did see Hawks was a popular cosplay at Megacon this year. We saw
Hawks is entering a turning point as a character.
We saw several different variations of Hawks. I will just say that. I won't say anything else. Yes, it is cool. Yes, I'm never going to be in the 800. I got to the 150 range and was like, how many more episodes? And that was back when it was like 500 something. And I was like, no, not doing it.
I will say both of these photos, just to wrap up what we were talking about celebrity-wise, both of these photos were taken at MegaCon, but two incredibly different experiences. Neve Campbell, some of you might recognize her on the left. Scream primarily, but also
The Craft,
Wild Things, The Craft, and other things. There were other things. There were big, prominent other things that I can't remember right now. Skyscraper with Dwayne Johnson. So she's well known. She's a big name, and she was the final girl of like an entire generation since she was in 5 of the 6 Scream movies. Horrific that she's not in the 6th one, I will say. But Gigi Edgley, on the other hand, on the right, same con, very different experience. We were rushed through Nev's line, and she was already like, I mean, again, you can tell when a celebrity is tired. She was super, super nice, but she had been there all day, and she had been meeting and greeting with people all day, and she was like way over her tolerance level. So she's like, signing things. He's like, have you guys had a good day? And I was like, oh, you poor sweet woman. Thank you so much for staying. Yes, we've had a wonderful day. Meanwhile, Gigi Edgley on the right-hand side, she's been to 2 cons back-to-back over the course of 2 weekends. She has no voice, but she's still like so energetic. She doesn't get approached by people all the time. So she's on the floor. She doesn't even have a celebrity booth. She was like on the floor. She's from like a handful of different sci-fi shows that we know her from. And she was just so happy to talk with people. She didn't care like who talked with her or for how long. And we paid for 1 selfie. We got like 12. So she was happy to chat with them. I mean, I think if we walked up on her again at a different event, she would remember us. That's how long that interaction was and how meaningful. So smaller cons are more of that. Larger cons are more of you poor sweet celebrity. Thank you for making time for me. As much fun as it is to meet those celebrities, you can tell when they're a little bit overwhelmed.
You can definitely still have like those meaningful interactions with like,
I
try to. I'm a bit of an art nerd, not because I make art, but because I really like people who draw art. So I, read manga, I read webtoons, I follow a lot of artists on Instagram. So I'm always trying to see like, where are these artists going? Are any of them going to cons that I'm going to? And so far I haven't run into any yet or in a long time. But you can still like have interactions with like vendors or artists that are really meaningful too. But yeah, the celebrities that we know and love, we tend to have more of those like longer, memorable ones at the smaller cons where
some
you
of
just
them
get
will
more
remember
time.
us. Some of them
Yeah.
will remember us if we've seen like Katrina Law from Arrow. I think we've seen enough now that she will. It's been a while since we saw her last.
If we had it,
but
if we
right as COVID hit and we were going to cons regularly, she had seen us enough times that she was starting to recognize us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it would take like a minute to fire, but then she would be like.
Funny fact about her, we actually sent her an invite to our wedding.
And she replied.
It took a long time.
It was well after the wedding when she replied, but she did.
I was like,
she sent a gift. That was what it was, a very small gift.
Yes.
But she replied back, she wrote a note and she sent a gift.
And said like, congratulations.
Congratulations, sorry I missed it. And I was like, girl. Anyway, it was a joke that we sent her an invitation as a joke. We weren't even sure that was her address because celebrities have their addresses
it's
blocked.
like a fan club
but we
address.
sent to their like fan address that their talent management had posted, and she replied. So
that was fun.
She's sweet. Everyone's talking about cosplay, so I think we should talk about cosplay. So, at large conventions where you have more space, you get bigger, more elaborate cosplays. You also get more cosplayers overall.
Yeah. Well, and also there's usually more fandoms celebrated at the larger ones, so you get like the wide variety of cosplay, we'll say, you know. So there was definitely some Bakugo and Midoriya at MegaCon. Like My Hero is popular.
God, there was the flawless Dark Deku, like
Deku ever.
Dark Deku specifically, but like I missed my opportunity to get him because he was like late for the bus by the time I asked, and I was like, no. Never see that kind of quality again. Never again.
At MegaCon where it's like anything goes pop culture wise. It's
well,
anime,
hold on, because I got a
comic.
slide for.
Yeah.
Hulkbuster.
So that's
at New York Comic Con.
That's a New York Comic Con.
That was 2015. So that's not like news. That happened like years ago.
But there were definitely like big build cosplays at MegaCon.
Some of it is in our vlog. Like we saw, and I don't even know. We call it the multi-bear, but that's not accurate. It's like some. Honestly, it might have been from Princess Mononoke because I haven't seen that movie in so long.
No,
it's not.
It's not. You don't know anything about Princess Mononoke.
You are bad for my self-esteem.
There was a big bear thing, which is probably from some video game or something we had never seen before, but it was still very impressive. I called it the multi-bear because I'm a Gravity Falls fan.
I am too.
So is Tim.
I started the multi-bear thing.
No, I called him multi-bear.
Nope, I call him the multi-bear.
I definitely did first. But
I fart in your general direction.
Anyway, big
elaborate cosplays. Are often you will see at least one or two.
Gigantic.
And you will see them. They won't just be like wandering around and you be like, oh, I missed it. Like you'll see them. They're big.
There was a big. Apparently this cosplayer goes to MegaCon every year and does something huge. She's done anything. Well, I don't actually know their gender. I'll say they'll do anything from this year. It was something from it was one of the Titans from Attack, like an actual Titan, like not just I put on an Eren Yeager suit. It was humongous.
I know for a fact it's in Tim Trucker's vlog. It's not in ours because like by the time we saw it, we weren't shooting anymore. But we did see it like out of the corner of our eye as we were rounding a corner, and it was impressive. It wasn't. I'm not the biggest Attack on Titan fan. I know Chad and Vanessa are, and they're in the comments, and they will definitely talk about Attack on Titan with whoever who wants to talk about Attack on Titan. But I did recognize like that is a huge amount of work, and that was a quality product. And that is something that only happens at bigger cons.
Bigger cons usually.
They don't have space to do that in a hotel.
Yeah.
But you'll also, as I say, you'll also see more cosplayers overall. Cosplay red carpet is a little bit different from cosplay contest. And cosplay red carpet will definitely draw more cosplayers who have a chance to strut their stuff and be admired. And a lot of people, like when they do big cosplays, and I'll be honest, like we've done a small amount of cosplaying and it has been well received in the past, and we have been among those who have been like totally exhausted by like pictures. Like you'll be walking down the hallway, it'll take you like 10 minutes to reach the next door down because everyone will want a picture. And that's fun for a while, and then it like you need a break. So like
I'm pretty sure we went to the hotel after like 6 hours of cosplay.
And we
were
changed out because we were like, we can't enjoy the con.
We need to be incognito now.
But some people like live and die by that. So like cosplay is a big thing at any con, no matter where you're going. If it's a convention with fans, it will be, it will draw cosplayers. But the bigger, more elaborate cosplayers will often be drawn to the larger cons where they have more space to strut their stuff. Having said that, small conventions may have fewer cosplayers overall, and cosplayers may not be invited as guests of the con either, which is something that will happen at larger cons. AwesomeCon, Megacon, FanExpo events, they'll all invite cosplay-specific guests who are known for cosplay. Some are on like TV shows that are all about cosplay and will have like kind of a celebrity status from that alone.
It's funny because walking past, I remember at AwesomeCon last time they were there were definitely cosplayer celebrities, and they would often be in a cosplay and a different one every day. But at Megacon, I don't know if the game's changed or whatnot, but every time we walked by the section of celebrity cosplayers, they were in a different cosplay like 2 hours later. It was crazy.
It was pretty cool.
Wait, are they different? No, it's the same person.
Well, you gotta figure
went from like Superman to I don't know. It was something.
You gotta figure they don't have hundreds of people to get through in line. They will sometimes have a dozen or so, and I think that's pretty cool. Like people are drawn together by how much they appreciate that cosplay. But they will often like they'll get through their line of 12, and then before another 12 line up, they'll be like, hold on, go to the bathroom, grab some lunch, and then change into a whole different outfit, and then come back. And they will do selfies at their table too. Yeah. Smaller conventions are not going to draw those type of guests. They have a limited amount of capacity. They have a limited amount of money to spend on inviting guests and paying guests to be there. So they're not usually going to offer that experience to the cosplay guests. But that's not to say you won't get some amazing cosplays. This is actually from MonsterMania, and it's actually from the event we intended last year, not this year. It's not the one we vlogged, and it was an absolute mess how crowded this event was. So we didn't even see this person, but this person made the news because their cosplay was so good. So, and I you'll get really creative people attending smaller conventions, and honestly, Katie came home after MonsterMania halfway through the day, and she was like, "I'm gonna dress up. I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna go." We went back to see the costume contest.
A Freddy bound, I would say. It wasn't quite a cosplay. It was like my Freddy bound. Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street.
I wouldn't say it's a bound if you have the claw and the hat.
I had the hat, the sweater, and the claw.
You weren't burned, but you had the rest of the costume.
And I was wearing like booty jean shorts.
I mean, boots. that's just Femme Freddy. So
never sleep again.
You're worse than Mitch.
I'm the worst.
So cosplay is a big thing at every con, and we're glad for that. And honestly, like we're starting to get back into like the nerdy aspects of going to cons, and like it's not totally out of the question that we might do like casual cosplays or even more elaborate cosplays.
I've already got a list of ones I wanted to do.
You've always had that list though. That's not new.
But it's changed lately because I've watched different content since. Anyway, yeah.
So.
Also, I also watched. I don't think I've caught up, but I did watch 7 Deadly Sins, and Bond is amazing. So, would love to see that for you, Tim. Anyway.
Be your best self.
Great music in that show.
Merch and vendor. I thought you were talking about the live stream music. I was like, this is the same music we always have.
No, this is not great music.
This is very okay music.
I actually think the same person who did the Attack on Titan music did 7 Deadly Sins. Anyway.
So, large conventions when it comes to merch. More exhibits with interactive elements and bigger brands. What we mean by this are things like photo ops, things like the 501st Legion, like a collection of Star Wars people building props.
Yeah.
Or giant toothless structures that you can mount and ride. This was the highlight of my AwesomeCon that one year. Like, cool. They have the space to do more of this stuff at Megacon than they will ever have at MonsterMania. Until MonsterMania grows beyond a hotel con, they're not going to be able to include stuff like this. brands like the Army and NASA were also at MegaCon doing recruitment, which sounds super boring and almost shady, except for that they were doing it in fun ways to connect with the fan community. Like they had you playing video games and test flying rockets and stuff. Like it was fun. Even if you didn't, obligate yourself to sign up, it was still a fun floor exhibit.
And AwesomeCon had vendors like Crunchyroll and Viz Media and stuff for Funimation even. Or maybe that was Otakon. I can't remember.
Katsucon had Funimation because we watched the Boruto movie dub.
Yeah, so you can see like bigger brands and sometimes you get more of like the take a free pen kind of stuff. Where at the smaller cons usually it's like it's actually some of them do offer like little free buttons and stuff. Yeah. But anyway, it's not that you won't see this, like we said earlier, it's not like you won't see the small businesses or artists.
But they'll be kind of like marginalized by the larger brands. Yeah. Because the larger brands will bring more exciting content for their booths.
And at the larger cons, like there was like a TARDIS we could walk into.
The DeLorean from Back to the Future.
You could take a picture with. There was a whole setup with
Batmobile.
Yeah, there was a Batmobile. There was the RV from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation because Chevy Chase was there, and you could stand next to cousin, I think it's Eddie, who says, "The toilet is full." I'm not going to say the actual line because I don't want YouTube to.
I'm going to speak this one into existence. I need someone to bring a full-scale Batman 89 Batwing to one of these events. I want to sit in that. I will pay any price. To take a photo in the Batwing.
Excited because we're going to a con in the future that honestly it may be the same person that built that Toothless, but there's supposed to be a life-size Appa from Avatar: The Last Airbender that I can sit on.
Yep.
And it will be the highlight of my life. So shout out to any Avatar: The Last Airbender fans out there.
Yeah, the DeLorean in question at MegaCon was signed by the full Back to the Future cast, which was pretty cool. Didn't need to be for me to pay to sit in it because it was pretty well built.
I just looked up and I was like, these are the signatures of the cast. So.
Oh, Tim's gonna build the Batwing for us. Make it happen, Tim. You got time on your hands, right? Enough time to build a Batwing. Smaller conventions are more small business oriented, fewer aggregates. By that, I mean fewer people who will collect up things to sell like memorabilia or even like collecting up small business creations, which happens a lot at larger conventions. They'll have 6 sets of DVDs and Blu-rays of their favorite shows that they've bought off other people. This is more so, at the smaller cons, this will be people who are creating their own stuff. What I talked about earlier with the people who built their own board game, who developed their own teas, who concocted their own beef jerky flavors or hot sauces, like that stuff does happen at larger cons, but it's rarer. It's not every booth that does that. It's more big brands.
It's also highly unlikely, just due to the crowd congestion and what you're trying to get done, that you'll be able to walk by every single artist and vendor. But we definitely did that at MonsterMania. I may not have spent a whole lot of time in front of all of them, but I did walk past every single thing to see what they offered.
Something tells me, Tim, if you use the old Wildcat pieces to build the Batwing, you're going to get a talking to. You'll have to charge a high price for those photos.
That will be called the Catwing.
Ah! You'll have to charge a high price for those photos to bail yourself out.
Also, are there still Wildcat pieces, and can we get them?
No, because they were sold off.
Yeah, that's what Hershey said. But does Tim know something that we don't know?
Hershey's been keeping 2x4s hidden away. All right, so the other thing you'll see at both convention sizes is artists. This is an example of a small shop that I pulled from a Facebook page of another con we've been to, but this is at a hotel, and this is basically just an artist, selling stickers and art pieces. And that artist alley exists at every single con, whether it's a MonsterMania con, whether it's an anime con, whether it's MegaCon, which has all kinds of different fandoms. You'll always find artists selling stuff. Artists are more prominent at smaller cons. They have more time to or I would say they're more at the forefront of what the con's about, versus at Megacon where they're kind of tucked near the back. You will see more of these booths and less of the brand booths at smaller cons. So you'll have more of a chance to talk to the artist. Lines will not be as long, so you'll get more of their story, and you'll see what kind of drives them as creators. And that is a valuable experience to me as a con goer. Like, I like the intimacy, so to speak, that comes with being able to interact with these smaller creators. So artists in particular, I think, benefit from the smaller cons. But that's not to say that they won't show up or shouldn't show up at the larger cons.
Yeah.
Food. This is our last official category. And then we will tell you all about the kind of stuff that happens at both. So at food, at large conventions, there will often be a food court, because you got to think about the fact that, like, this is happening at a convention center. This is not a hotel lobby. This is like a shopping mall, and at a shopping mall, you'll always have a food court, because that many people in one place, there's not going to be enough to feed them at one Burger King.
Yeah.
So,
and usually the convention centers are set up for this, so they already have like their own contracted, like, basically they're like little counters all around. So it is very similar to a food court, but it's more kind of like a kiosk or booth.
Yeah.
Like at MegaCon, there was literally like a Papa John's one, although they only sold like 2 kinds of pizza. I think it wasn't like you could make. It wasn't like a mod
and it
pizza
wasn't quality Papa John's either. I'm very upset about it.
There was like a salad, like a make your own bowl or salad bar, kind of like a la Chipotle. There was tacos. I think there was like poke bowls.
Yeah, because our friend Mitch is a vegan, and he actually found something for himself at one of the booths that was like tofu based. But
well,
and mind you, it wasn't the best.
They were supposed to have a tofu option, and then they didn't have tofu, so we just ended up with basically like a salad. But yeah, that's what you eat sometimes.
It was perhaps not the best environment for a vegan, but there was option.
Yeah,
there was an option to have. I mean, you weren't going to starve if you had special dietary needs.
They did not, as far as I know.
They did have fudge, though. They did have fudge, which was not the same as mini donuts.
Well, that was even like a vendor. That was not even like the food court.
Oh, yeah. Vendors do sell food. You will find food from vendors. We bought beef jerky at MonsterMania.
We could all use some East Coast mini donuts at
all the time.
Conventions. I will say.
Smaller conventions, we were going to say, like MonsterMania at the hotel actually had a pretty decent hotel restaurant. I was not expecting that. I've never been to that hotel before, and I was not expecting.
I love fudge. Sorry, Kayla, I know that's not what you
I like turtles.
Like. I was just thinking of like, I like tulips. Remember?
I grow tulips.
I grow tulips. Sorry, Kaylee.
We love you, Kaylee. Yeah, so small conventions. MonsterMania in New Jersey had one dining location. It was full, like at 6 a.m. in the morning. Like there was no room to let anyone in to eat anything. So we had to go off-site for that convention. The convention that we went to in Hunt Valley was a little better accommodating of, people being hungry at lunchtime. And they did have a restaurant with a buffet that, it was a well-oiled machine. You walk in, you sit down at your own table, someone asks you what you want to drink, and then they tell you to hit the buffet. And then you go hit the buffet. When you're done, you pay on your way out. So, and everyone got the same price because it was only buffet. Like you couldn't buy a la carte extra items. Like it was just what it was. And you had it was like a Spanish food, Mexican, Tex-Mex.
Yeah, Tex-Mex.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just, it was very decent for a hotel con. It sustained us, and we went right back at it. That particular hotel also had a Starbucks that sold like mini sandwiches and like biscuits and stuff. That obviously wasn't going to, bring about the best nutritional value, but it would have kept us going if it needed to. That was kind of a rarity. Like a hotel convention, you will often not have those options. Normally what you'll have to do, if a hotel is like, the Marriott or the Four Seasons is a really bad example. What was that one that we went to for Heroes and Villains? Was it a Marriott?
Yeah, it was a Marriott.
It had like an Outback.
Carrabba's
it had an Outback Steakhouse and a Carrabba's as part of the hotel. And
yeah.
if you have a hotel like that, you do have some options, but hundreds of people in one place, those options are going to go quick unless you make a reservation, and half the time they don't allow you to make reservations. All of this to say, smaller conventions, often you will have to go off-site to eat. So here's our recommendation. Either look at a map, see what's in the area, figure out what you're going to eat before you get there, and try to stay one step ahead of what everyone else is going to do. We've tried to do that in the past. Sometimes we've been successful. Sometimes we failed miserably. This particular convention at MonsterMania, I will say we got very lucky. Like, we were at the door when the restaurant opened at 1 o'clock, and we were the first to sit down, and we got our food immediately. 25 minutes in and out. We were very sustained. But it could have been much worse. Like, we might have had to go off-site if we had arrived an hour later and every table had been full. So these are things you got to think about. And the smaller the convention is, the less it costs to get in, the more you have to kind of think about, how much am I bringing for merch? Where am I going to eat? How much does parking cost if parking isn't free? These are the things to consider at a smaller site versus a larger site. At a larger site, you can pretty much assume all your needs will be met, but it will cost money. Do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay, because I'm moving on to constants when size doesn't matter. So these are the things that are going to be consistent across every con experience, regardless of size. There have already been some that we've talked about, kind of like loosely throwing out there into the void as we thought of them. But these are things that are always, always, always going to be true. Not everything is going to be cash only. So don't read this headline and think like, oh my goodness, I have to bring so much money in cash. You should bring some money in cash, and it should be more than $100. But the reason we highlight cash only is because some convention centers have absolute cruddy Wi-Fi. That was not the word I was going to use. I had to adjust mid-sentence. Absolutely terrible Wi-Fi that doesn't reach certain vendors. If you want to buy art, if you want to interact with the celebrities, especially if you want to interact with the celebrities.
9 times out of 10 autographs, no matter how popular or big name the celebrity is cash only.
Yep. And I'm sure there's a reason for that, but I don't always know why for the bigger names. For the smaller vendors or the food merchants, like sometimes they've all got smartphones now, and they all try to connect Square and Stripe and all the different apps that allow you to take credit cards and import them directly into your phone. Some of them will even take cash or like cash with the app, Cash app,
like Venmo
or Venmo,
PayPal.
But sometimes the Wi-Fi doesn't connect. Sometimes the system is unreliable. At the end of the day, if you want to purchase something, you better have cash just in case. But as Katie said, for celebrities at the table, it's incredibly rare that any of them accept credit cards. So either pre-buy using your credit card and get a ticket that you can use to exchange for your autograph or your photo op when you get there. I always recommend doing that anyway, because you never know if something's going to sell out, especially when capacity is more limited.
Yeah.
Or bring a pocket full of cash. And
I got a pocket full of sunshine.
Before we jumped on the live, Katie also made the point where, like, it's the same concept as like walking into Target. If you want to set a limit on how much you're going to spend, don't whip out your credit card.
Yeah.
You have the cash you have.
If you're
set
worried
it aside,
you're going to
you use it.
overspend, if you want to budget it, bring the cash that you're willing to spend, and when you run out, leave. That's my advice.
So bring cash. I always recommend at least $300 for a convention. If there are celebrities you want to see in particular, but if there aren't, you might be able to get away with less.
If you're just there to look around, look at cosplayers, maybe buy a couple of things, maybe you only want to spend $50 to $100 on merch or less than that. No judgment. There's no wrong way. Okay, there are wrong ways to do a con, but they involve being a bad person. I will say there's no, with an asterisk, there's no wrong ways to do a con. You can pay for your admission and just people watch. And if that's what you want to do, beautiful. Do that. You
can do that for just cosplay.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim brings up a great point. Please don't forget to hit that like button. It helps fight against the... I like that the YouTube algorithm is punishing us in this. But the funny thing is, like, we actually have, in the last couple of months, we have, I think, gained ourselves a troll who is constantly rolling around disliking our videos. So it does really help us. If you're watching this, if you will give us a thumbs up, it helps boost us to other people. And if troll, if you're watching, we know you're out there and we're not afraid of you.
Oh wow, let's call him out, or her or them right now.
Don't assume the troll's gender. All right. Big celebrities will always draw crowds. This is a constant for sure. Christina Ricci and William Shatner at MonsterMania. Saturday was crazy because they were both there on the same day. Ricci was there Saturday, Sunday. Shatner was there Friday, Saturday. So the overlap is where we had long lines. David Arquette was there all 3 days, and he always had a long line. We did not meet David Arquette, unfortunately, because I think he was actually, it was long for a good reason. I think he was taking a lot of time to interact with each fan. But it was very nice of David Arquette to do that, so I don't begrudge him. It's just a shame that his line was forever long and we wouldn't have been able to meet him even if we'd built it into our day. We did build Christina Ricci into our day, so that was our big draw. But I will say, like, the big celebrities will always draw crowds no matter how large or small the con is. The more big celebrities in one place, the more packed it's going to be. Jenna Coleman and Peter Capaldi, the one day that they had the current Doctor Who and the current Companion at the same time, absolutely mobbed at AwesomeCon. And that was a big con. They shouldn't have been mobbed. They should have prepared for that. They did not. Don't assume anyone's gender.
Yes.
But yeah, so if you have a big name at a con, be prepared for crowds. If you can't handle the crowds, don't go. That's as simple as that. But be aware that if you do go, even if you're not, a people person, I wouldn't actually consider us people. Like, we're not extroverts. We don't feed off the energy of large crowds. We love being part of big moments, and we love the energy of roller coasters and whatnot. And we do love going to cons and theme parks. But all the extroverted activities we enjoy does not in and of itself make us extroverts. Like, we like to be kind of off to one side and private to ourselves, and we still feel like we have the ability to do that at a con. So don't write off a con just because you know it's going to be crowded. Just go in prepared for the crowds and set your itinerary and have the day you have.
Or always get your feet wet at maybe a smaller one, or just do one day. If you
instead of 4 or 5
4, just
or
to
8.
see if you like it and can handle it, because you never know. Tim thought he was going to hate conventions when I took him to his first one in like 2014. And now we're doing this is like our third live stream on conventions. So obviously he took to them after all.
It's becoming part of the channel this year, like it or not. Saturday will always be busy. This is true whether the con has a big celebrity or not. It might not be as busy as it would if William Shatner was there, but it will be busy. No matter what the size of the con, Saturday is the day that everyone who's thinking about coming has the ability to come.
Yeah. No one has to take off work to be there.
Yep.
Celebrities may only be there Saturday and Sunday, or just Saturday sometimes. So it's a big draw. It's a big day.
And it was funny because walking up on Megacon, we had to walk all the way around the building because that one particular piece wasn't well organized. And we didn't put it in the vlog because I wasn't vlogging at that point. But as we were walking in, Katie was saying, man, it's been going for 3 days. I really thought the crowds might have dropped off a little bit by now. And someone in front of her turned around like, it's Saturday. I was like,
no.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. It was the pick up your badges. I thought more people would have pre-picked up their badges Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. That's true.
What I thought. It wasn't that I didn't think Saturday was going to be busy. I just thought, but then, you think about it, it's like, well, we were at theme parks Thursday and Friday, and now we're going.
Yeah. Saturday is always, yes, if it's a con that requires badges, like hotel cons will often require wristbands. They don't have security the way that they do at, expo centers or convention centers. So they won't, hold you up so much getting into the con. And honestly, I'm not advocating anyone do this, but MonsterMania Con is situated in such a way that unless you're sitting in on a panel or lining up for a celebrity autograph, you could easily walk through the entire convention and buy merch without actually paying to be there, because they were not checking wristbands when you like enter the merch floor and whatnot. But at larger cons, you won't even get in the building without clearing security and picking up your badge.
Megacon was doing something I'd never seen before, which may be the new technology. They're literally like scanning people in and out. Like if you left,
like
to
you
go
can't bring
smoke a cigarette
bring
or
last
whatever.
year's badge back. Is probably what they're thinking. Like you can't like print a copy like it's got a microchip in it.
Yeah.
So it has to be activated on its way in and out.
It was kind of bizarre.
I kind of liked it. But
I didn't hate it.
It did
was
slow
just
you down.
different. Yeah.
And Saturday being what it was, like it took us a while to get in, it took us a while to get out, but it was still a fun event. It was busy. Like Saturday is always going to be busy.
Don't have that many like bad things to say about it overall.
The last piece of advice we have, and the last constant across all conventions ever, is con etiquette. I said we'll never not apply because I want to really hammer it into people's heads that con etiquette is a thing. I'm not going to sit here ragging on people that are not respectful of other people, because hate just energizes hate. But there are plenty of people at cons who are not respectful of other people at cons. And that can be cosplayer guests, that can be celebrities, people who are not respectful of cosplayer guests, celebrities, vendors, even staff like food vendors. You will see a ton of that. It's the same kind of entitlement at theme parks where it's like, I paid to be here so I can do what I want. No, there are rules and there's, basic human decency. Con etiquette is as simple as putting on deodorant and showering before you go to the event. And also remembering things like cosplay is not consent. Like someone might dress in a kind of promiscuous looking cosplay. That doesn't make it okay to approach them and, give them a hug without their permission, take their photos without permission, get up in their face and chat about how hot they are. That's not appropriate. And I don't think anyone who's watching this live stream and commenting right now is going to struggle with that, because I know everyone on this live stream personally, and we're all in the know on how people are, and we all try to be the better person. But for anyone who's watching the replay or anyone who might be watching incognito, like this is just general human decency stuff. Be respectful of other people. And also, bring your patient pants, because you're going to be in lines, especially if you go on Saturday. But like any con, any day is going to have lines. So just be aware of like people around you. Try not to like be up in people's personal space. Try not to push or shove. Don't save spots for 5 other people. Just be the best person you can be at whatever event you're attending, and there will be no problems. There may be problems, but you won't be causing them.
Yeah, just don't be a problem.
The Manhattan Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con?
Well, I mean, we've encountered our fair share of people who have not been so nice at conventions too, and we try not to let it ruin our days. But it does stink, and I hope if you decide to return to the con scene, it's a bit more of a positive experience.
There will be people who, and I mean, people. I feel like everyone has like everyone is a little bit off in their own way, so I don't hold it against someone if they're having trouble identifying socially with other people, especially at a big event where there's multiple different personalities mixing. But the key thing, if there's only one thing to take away, I think it is patience. Like it is very difficult to be patient when someone else is not showing proper etiquette. But if you show proper etiquette, it will more often than not be returned. And if not, you have the satisfaction of knowing that you did not cause the problem, and you can go about your con day enjoying it as normal. But it really does boil down to like, put on deodorant and shower before you go, because too many people don't. Too many people just do, it just doesn't occur.
Like, regardless of a pandemic just happening or whatever, washing your hands, covering your coughs and sneezes. You're in a room
dude, there was
thousands of people.
Someone on the escalator going down apart from us at MonsterMania just like coughed straight in Katie's face, and it's like on an escalator where like they're going by each other, like there's no way you can avoid it.
Yeah,
I was like, dude,
it was not
really, come on. So just be aware that you're not at home in a room by yourself doing whatever the heck you want to do. You're there with other people who also want to enjoy the con, and they deserve your respect.
Yeah.
Until they don't.
And if you find it, usually the best situation is just to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah. If some
walk away.
Just walk away.
Walk away.
Don't let them ruin it for you. But anyway.
Anyway. So I will close out with I'll actually take the live thing out. I will close out by highlighting some of the amazing people that we've met at con. This was from like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah,
this was like
Otakon
when it was at Baltimore Convention Center.
Baltimore.
Like it was a smaller but not small con at the time. And you can see some like incredible creators and everyone. I mean, the reason that I wanted to throw the slide in here is like everyone's having fun. Like all these people were delighted to be there and excited to be a part of the environment. And that's what we want from our cons. Like we want to gather fans who are passionate about what they're seeing and doing, and then we get to be part of that passion together. It is Kim Possible
and Ron Stoppable.
And they had a communicator. Yep. A communicator.
Yep.
Yeah. So this I think concludes
today's
the message, so to speak, as it were, is all about the differences between small conventions and large conventions. We have released a Megacon vlog already. We will be releasing a MonsterMania con on Thursday of this week if everything goes to plan. So you'll be able to kind of see the difference with your own eyes between larger and smaller conventions. But there's a lot that's not covered in the vlogs. Like there's a lot that you just have to experience, or you can take our word for it and trust us that it was a thing that happened. But this is not our last con that we just went to of the year. I think we've already got one more on the books, one more we're thinking about attending, and one more that we just booked today.
Well, yeah, we bought the passes.
We bought incredibly expensive passes for another convention that is just like, it's right up against the threshold of like, is this as geek as I really want to go? And
I'm pretty sure we've crossed that threshold. Should we tell them what it is?
I mean, I suppose you can. If y'all are familiar at all with cons, and Tim, earlier you had dropped the question.
Dropped the Star Trek picture. Did you get your Star Trek picture question?
Yeah, where is it? I'm gonna pull it up.
I don't.
Have we really had this many comments? Wow. Thank you all. I didn't realize that we had this many comments on the live stream, but now I'm having a hard time finding the one I want.
Did you get your Star Trek picture yet? There it is.
Ah, yeah. Did you get your stick?
That's that was
That's it. Yeah, that's why I couldn't find it, because it was the back half of the comment. So like we got this pop-up and I was like, do you have cameras in our house, man? Because just earlier today yesterday is when we first came across it, but earlier today we bought tickets for an event hosted by Creation Entertainment, which does all kinds of cons based on Supernatural, Stranger Things, and Star Trek. So I wouldn't characterize myself as a hardcore Trekkie, but I'm starting to get to the point where like I really embrace the characters and whatnot. And
I think
I'm not like
hardcore Trekkie.
You're more like Captain Kirk and the old school stuff. I loved I loved original series because that's what brought me in, and that's what I share with my friends. I was a Next Generation baby.
And then he grew up Next Generation, and I watched a lot of Next Generation with you. And then we have been watching Voyager, which Voyager is my favorite Star Trek show, and I can't imagine it ever being beat by another
you didn't
show.
think that you'd like Voyager as much as you did, because Next Generation is near and dear to your heart, but it wasn't like near and dear the way Voyager is.
Voyager just, man, it touches me.
I won't tell you when, I won't tell you where, but I will tell you that almost the entire cast of Star Trek Voyager is going to be gathered in one place.
Along with 25 other Star Trek.
William Shatner is also going to this one. Yeah, there's a lot of people coming, and that was why it was like, if there's only one super nerdy convention that we go to, This is gonna be it. And
he says that I'm like, they're all super nerdy, man.
They're not all super.
Come on, like you can't.
There's a difference between nerdy and geeky too. Like geeky is where I would put like Megacon and AwesomeCon. I would put Star Trek in the squarely in the nerd bucket. You can't suppress my opinion.
The guy wearing the Hufflepuff shirt.
You bought me the Hufflepuff shirt.
I did get you the Hufflepuff shirt. I think I don't, you know, I've embraced the nerd, the geek label since I was like in middle school.
I will never embrace the Whovian title. I refuse.
Whatever.
It's not on my to-do.
I think if you're attending a Star Trek convention, you are at least a quarter Trekkie.
I mean, I would rather be a Trekkie than a Whovian, but I'm a legacy Trekkie. I was born into it.
Whether you can be one or the other or both.
Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to that convention later this year.
I am seriously thinking about cosplaying there, so if you want to see...
If you want to see the ultimate level of nerd, that will be Katie.
Of Captain Catherine Janeway, let me know.
I thought about being a Borg, but I don't know if I can pull it together.
Yeah. Well, Tim's always like, he loves.
I like to be elaborate with my
appreciates
cosplays.
Cosplay, and then he's like, I could do a Borg. I'm like, you don't even know how.
Shut up.
It's like, you know what we should do?
You're discouraging
Big
personal
Daddy
growth.
And little sister. I'm like, you don't know how to build a Big Daddy.
You're discouraging personal growth.
Our Welsh goddess here probably knows how to build a Big Daddy, because it sounds like you've got a lot of cosplay knowledge. Mm-hmm. Very, very interested.
Start a YouTube channel. We'll follow.
I mean, do you have a cosplay channel? Because I will start following. I have a personal YouTube, but it doesn't do anything. I just use it to comment on other people's things.
It's your incognito account, so you can't give it away.
Yeah. Anyway.
The brand will be devastated.
Anyway.
Last week's live stream did not wind up being posted, so the creator spotlight is the same as it was the previous week because we didn't want to take the spotlight away from these people that we highlighted. But if you're on that live stream, you will know these people by now, I'm sure. Take a Chance Cosplay is the legendary Quackface that we met at Megacon. You'll have to watch their content and probably the Megacon vlog too to understand why that's funny, but it would take too long to explain. So she's got a YouTube account, she's got an Instagram account, a Twitter, a Facebook, and a TikTok, and they are all Quackface branded. So definitely check her out. Duchess of Disney, periods in between, is mostly an Instagrammer, but has a lot of really cool Disney content, presents it in ways that I haven't thought of, and honestly shares a lot of funny memes too. So brightens up my day. And then our friend Kara from Spooky Kara, who is mostly working from the Haunt Scene accounts, but has her own where she posts her own. You get a little more of her personality in her own Instagram. So I did want to highlight her. She does a lot of haunts and some conventions. She was at Megacon. She actually co-hosted a panel there with Haunt Scene. So check her out. She got an Instagram, and the website that she blogs for is listed in her bio as well. Hint, hint, it's the Haunt Scene. So our next installment, we did 2 in a row here because we were behind, but we are going to circle back to our regular schedule and take 2 weeks off here. We'll be back on May 2nd to talk about lost attractions. And what I mean by lost attractions are attractions that are no longer with us, but were once. Poseidon's Fury, I think, is still with us currently, but it's closing next month, and we will not be there to experience it again before it goes.
So it got us thinking, like, what are some attractions?
Yeah, we're gonna miss it. We are. It's not the boldest or the most exciting attraction, but it will be missed. Like Wildcat too from Hershey Park. Like we'll have Wildcat's Revenge always, but some people will miss Wildcat Classic.
I don't think my neck and back will miss Wildcat.
No, probably not. But
yeah,
at least you'll have a part of it in Wildcat's Revenge.
I do hope for Poseidon's Fury, whatever they replace it with, has as impressive a facade as Poseidon's Fury.
I think it will be the same facade, and I think they will add ocarina music to it. That's what I think, personally.
It would need to change a little bit if they wanted to make it Hyrule, Don't you think?
Not that much.
You think the big giant like
yeah
would work?
You've only seen the one Zelda game played?
I have.
You only
seen
seen
more
Breath
than
of the
one
Wild
Zelda
in the
game
background. That's the
played,
only one I played
sir.
in front of you.
I have seen more than one Zelda game.
Anyways, guys, this is obviously a discussion that we have a lot of passion for.
No, we're gonna drill this out right
now. We're gonna
now.
go another 2 hours.
Another 2 hours on what to do with Poseidon's food.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. Hope you learned something. If not, feel free to drop us a comment and let us know what lesson you would teach if you were going to a con, or if you've been to cons recently and have more thoughts to share. We always welcome further commentary. But until next time, we'll have a vlog out on Thursday, and we'll see you on the next live stream May 2nd. Thank you all for coming. I'm Tim.
I'm Katie.
And every night
is a new adventure.
See you again soon.
Good night.